So today's lesson is 8.5, angles of elevation and depression. And after today's lesson, you'll be able to find or solve problems that involve those two types of angles. Before you go any further, you want to make sure that you have your calculator handy because we are going to use some of the trigonometry that you learned in the last lesson. So let's take a look at two vocabulary terms. The first one is angle of elevation. And so from here, an angle of elevation is formed by a horizontal line and an angle of sight to an object above it. So looking at where this person is standing, here's that horizontal line. And if you think of something that elevates, it goes up. So here's our angle of elevation for that one. And then conversely, an angle of depression is the same thing. So here's this horizontal line. And then depression meaning going down or getting pushed down. That goes here. And so when we talk about an angle of depression, we're talking about this one right here. Now, in addition to talking about angles of elevation and depression, as I said, we are actually also going to refer to the trigonometry that we learned in 8.4. And I'm just going to remind you of these three little acronyms, SOHCAHTOA. And real quick, what do they mean or what do they represent? So, S-O-H, sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Adjacent over hypotenuse. And TOA is for tangent, and that's opposite over adjacent. So let's take a look at a couple of examples. So this first one, we have a football crossbar. The goalpost is 10 feet high. The field goal attempt is 25 yards away. And the football clears that goal by 1 foot. We want to figure out what the smallest angle is right here. What's the measure of this angle for this to work? So, a couple of things. First of all, this total height, 10 plus 1 is 11 feet. And then I also recognize that I'm given this distance in yards, and so we want to change that to feet. And there's 3 feet in 1 yard, so this actually becomes 75 feet. And so we're going to use that measurement to help us out with solving this problem. Now, knowing we are trying to find this angle right here, we need to take a look at what information are we given. Well, the 75 feet is the adjacent side, and the 11 feet is the opposite side. And so which trig ratio do we use for that? Right, we use tangent. So we're going to use the tangent. Tangent of whatever our angle is opposite over adjacent. And so then we take a look at our information that we have. So again, we're going to set up the fact that we have this tangent of x. The length of the side opposite is 11. And the length of the side that's adjacent is 75. Now, in order for us to figure out this angle, we need to use that inverse property. And so from here, we actually need to do the tangent -1 of 11 over 75. So to get that, you need to hit the second key and then tangent. And then it'll give you the option of entering a fraction. And so from here, to enter this in, you're just going to do 11 divided by 75 and close it off with parentheses. And so this should be what your calculator display is showing you. And then just go ahead and hit enter. And when you do that, that should give you a decimal of, rounding to the 100th, 8.34. And so we can say that the measure of angle x, we don't need two angles there. The measure of angle x is approximately, oh my gosh, not 80 degrees. I'm sorry. The measure of angle x is approximately 8 degrees. Again, we use tangent because we had the opposite information and the adjacent information. So let's look at our second example. In this one, we have an angle of depression. So we have this lifeguard is watching a beach from a line of sight 6 feet above the ground. So here's our 6 feet. And she sees a swimmer at an angle of depression at 8 degrees. So this angle right here is the one that we're talking about. How far away from the tower is the swimmer? So we have to figure out from the lifeguard to the swimmer that particular information. And so we look at it again and we say, okay, well, what information do we have? Well, I know what we don't have. We don't have the hypotenuse. So what trig ratio uses opposite and adjacent? Once again, we're going to use tangent. So the tangent of our angle is equal to whatever the opposite over adjacent is. Okay, in this case, we do know the angle. So I'm going to say the tangent of 8 is equal to, well, what's the opposite of our angle? It's 6 over question mark. And now we want to solve for this question mark. So we're going to use our algebra to do that. So the first thing that I'm going to do is multiply both sides of my equation by the question mark. So I have question mark times tangent of 8 is equal to 6. And again, I'm trying to get that question mark all by itself. So I'm going to divide both sides by tangent of 8. Okay, and type that into your calculator. 6 divided by tangent of 8. And when we get that, we should get that the question mark is approximately 42.69 by rounding it. And so we can say that the lifeguard and the swimmer are about 43 feet away. Again, so we found this distance up here to be 43 feet. I think the most important thing is to try and draw a picture and visualize what information are we given, and then the trig ratio is pretty easy to pick out from there. So there you have angles of depression and elevation.